The only way you can be great is if you rest. You're not overtrained. Being awake and working and pushing for 15, 16, 17 hours a day is not overtraining you. You're under-recovered. Rest is making sure that we are ceasing work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. It's only through rest that you're able to realize the strength, able to realize the benefits, able to realize the growth that comes out of the work that you're doing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Roethlingshoefer, and it's a pleasure to have you here again today. If you're new, again, welcome. You can go check out the other 300 episodes that we have done over the last few years. And I just get so humbled every time I look at this, because when we first started, I've told this story many times, but my mom was one of the only few that listened to this. And I think for the first year and a half, we were at 10, 20 downloads a month. Nothing. There's just nobody was listening. And now all of a sudden today we can look and we can say that we are continually pulling about 20,000 downloads a month and just in people's ears and impacting people in a powerful way. I love the emails. I love the text messages. I love the DMs through social. I love the shares that I'm seeing out there just talking about the podcast. So if this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that serves you, please share it with somebody. Please leave a comment. Please write a review. That's the way that we continue to reach more people and continue to get out there and touch more lives. And so as we move forward today, guys, I'm super excited for today. I love these solo episodes because what happens in the way that I prepare for these is I sit and I really just ask God, what is it that you want me to say? What is that should be on my heart? And as I leaned in and I continue to set back, the one word I got was rest. Rest. And I think for a lot of us, high charging entrepreneurs, business owners, people who are continually pushing to find that next gear, whether that be in your business, whether that be in your personal brand, whether that be in your family, whether that be in your fitness and your health, there's this constant desire to continue to push and continue to go. And I get really excited because I'm a pusher. I'm somebody who continually steps up, continually goes, is not easily, I don't even want to say shut down, but is not easily held back, it's not the norm that I'm like, oh yeah, it's an off day today. I'm excited. And over the course of this past weekend, I had a real big moment where what I was doing was woke up on Sunday morning. And as I woke up Sunday morning, I went for my run. And as I was going through my run, I just didn't feel like I had to get up and go. I didn't feel like I had the extra gear in my legs. And as I sat into it, I was like, why do I not have the extra gear? Why do I feel held back? Why do I feel like I'm lulling across this? Because as you guys have followed, if you follow on social media, getting ready for High Rocks, I've talked about overcoming that fear where it was all about me. It was all about showing up and winning. And so because it was all about winning, then I felt the pressure that was external, that only I was putting on myself, nobody else. We do this so often. And as we continue to push, as we continue to reach, as we continue to go, we put things on ourselves that actually aren't going to get us further to where we want to go, but actually start holding us back because it's a weight that we were never asked to carry. And so for myself on this Sunday, I got up and I went for a run and I just felt like I was slow. Typically I'm running like a 6:45, 7-minute mile. I was upwards of an 8:10, 8:20, and it felt heavy. It felt hard. And as I got back after I did 3.5, after I got back, I sat in the sauna and I was like, what is happening? What should I learn? What do I need to know? And I got that same word, rest. And I'm a huge definition guy. I love to be able to come back and understand the meaning of words, because Erwin McManus has always taught me that there is power in words, power in language. And so when we think about the definition of rest, it's to cease work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, and recover strength. And I was just like, wow, I don't really rest. From a noun standpoint, it's an instance or period of time of relaxing or ceasing to engage in strenuous or stressful activity. And I think so often, so many of us who are constantly pushing, are constantly going, are constantly achieving, are constantly in pursuit of something, we fail to rest. I tell this story in a lot of stages that I'm on when I look back at the concept of what we did in professional athletics with our athletes. They have a 2.5 month off season. That's in hockey. That's one of the longest seasons in all of professional sports. You're looking at about 9.5, 10 months if you go to the Stanley Cup final. It's extremely long and arduous. The NFL has a season that's 4 months long. That's it. September, October, November, December, and you're lucky if you're playing in January. And so you start to look at some of these sports and there's specific downtime where they get to recover. They get to recover not just from an endurance standpoint. If you haven't listened to the endurance podcast I did 2 weeks ago, go listen to it ASAP. Like pause this and go listen to that and come back, because it's going to be something that really gives you a lot of insight as to what I'm talking about here. But the ability to refresh oneself and recover strength is so necessary so that you can come back greater. And in professional sports, it's automatically built in. It's built in from the schedules we run. It was built in based off just the way the season was structured. But in entrepreneurship, in business ownership, we don't have an off season. We don't have the luxury of stepping away from our business for 2.5 months. We don't have the luxury of hitting the pause button and say, hey, I'm just going to go back and start working on me and build me back up so that I can go and get back into this war that we're going into. And so I think we need to start to change the script, flip the script. And this is the lifestyle that I abide by. This is the lifestyle that I talk about all the time, where we use data to help understand, hey, how's the vessel working? Are we on a green button? Are we on a yellow button? Are we on a red button? Like, where are we currently at? What's happening inside that's ultimately determining how we look outside? Because here's the thing. A lot of us can put a great front on. You can wake up in the morning. You can get into the shower. You can do your hair all nice. You can put on a great suit. You can put on a beautiful dress. You can step into your car, that your beautiful Mercedes push button. You get in, you drive to the beautiful office. You step up. Everyone's got your coffee for you. Everyone's happy for you. Everyone's excited for you because the boss is here. The visionary's here. The person who's got all the answers is here. You can go into your meetings with a great face. But on the inside, that entire time, you're anxious, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're fatigued, you're a little bit angry and frustrated because you don't know where it's going. You can feel empty, you can feel a little bit lost. And a lot of it just comes back to the fact that we haven't rested. The mind is constantly going, what is the next thing we have to accomplish? What is the next thing we have to do? What is the next thing that we have to, that we need to get in motion? And we're under constant movement. There's a word here in this definition I want to stand out. The ceasing of work or movement. Like, let's just break that down for a second. Ceasing work or movement. When we think about ceasing work, I think a lot of us are like, okay, well, it's just the business or the job. But instead, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do yard work, or I'm going to go and start doing work in the house, or I'm going to go and start getting my kids off and getting them all to their practices and their games. And while I'm at the practice or games, maybe I'm going to go and get a run in or get my workout in because that's the only time I have to do it. We're constantly working. The ceasing of work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. Because we just work in different areas of our life. And we think we can compartmentalize them until we realize, no, we can't compartmentalize them, because in actuality, everything is integrated together. And that's a big thing that I've had to learn over the course of my journey. You know that I was anorexic and went through major body image issues. And to be honest with you, one of the biggest things over the course of this 15-year period that I was caught in it is I would fail to cease work or movement. I would constantly be moving. I wouldn't allow myself to sit down. I wouldn't allow myself to watch a TV show. I wouldn't allow myself to even sleep. I still remember I would come home from school, and school would be over around 3:30. And the moment school was let out, actually, let me even back up. I'll just go through my day. I'd wake up in the morning. I'd get 15 push-ups done immediately. I'd go get a cold shower. From there, and even when I was sitting in the car, I wouldn't actually allow myself to sit in the chair. I would actually do like a wall sit. So I would elevate myself about an inch and a half off the seat so that my legs were having to work while we were going. And the only time I'd rest is if we were stopped at a stop sign or a stoplight. That was like the OCD component that came back in. Then when I would get to class, I would run from class to class. I'd have to do 10 push-ups, 10 squats before I went through every single door. Like there was zero ceasing of work or movement. And so I was never able to relax. I was never able to be refreshed. I was never able to recover strength. And because of that, it was this constant mindset of failing to do this. And I think we do a lot of this in our lives. And so for me, this transition, this learning over the course of this time comes back to being able to show up when it's time to work. And that is where it's done all out. Talk about David, Kai, JP, who come and work out with me every single morning. And I was at church on Sunday, and Kai brought probably 4 or 5 guys up to me and said, "Hey, Justin, like I'd love to bring them on Saturday to work out with you." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Bring them. Like it'll be great. I'd love to have them." And he said, "How is it that you show up and you just continue to keep doing and doing and doing? And the way that you work is it just seeming like an elevated level, but like how much work are you actually doing?" And I think my answer caught him off guard is that it's not the amount of work I do, it's the intentionality of the work I do. And I don't want that to go unnoticed because I only train 45 to 65 minutes a day. That's it. Then I'm sitting at a desk doing podcasts, I'm content creating, I'm on meetings, I'm reading, I'm writing, all these different things, getting creative. And the intensity that I show up with, I know for 45 to 65 minutes, this is what I'm doing. I'm not texting, I'm not emailing, I'm not focusing on what we're doing today at work, I'm not focusing on what I need to be creative in. I'm present, I'm there, and I'm working. And it took me to shape this mindset of when you go all in, it's only then that you can actually recover from something, because too many of you are in this dulled, numb state, what I call no man's land, of just being. You don't actually execute and don't actually work as hard as you think you are, because you're exhausted and can't get to that level of intensity. But also, because you haven't gotten to that level of intensity, you don't give yourself the rest time to actually recover. And so you're just in this constant no man's land hum, meaning that you don't get better, but you don't get any worse. And you seemingly just stay in this mundane middle space of average and mediocrity. And that might be a hard pill to swallow, but it's why you haven't seen an increase in fitness. It's why you haven't seen any weight loss. It's why you haven't felt any more energy. It's why you haven't started to sleep better. It's why that chronic illness, I do air quotes if you're listening on audio, it's why that chronic illness hasn't gotten any better. Because everything you're trying is just more work. It's more. Well, what if the actual difficult thing that we were being asked to do, what if the difficult thing that you were being asked to do was to rest? Because when we think about intentionality has to have the concept of being in tension. And this concept of being in tension is where the overlap happens between who you are and who you're called to be, who you know you're called to be, who you know wants to be unleashed from inside of you. And it's that middle intersection point, the cross, that crux right here that you need to be able to break through in order to move into something new. And it requires you to be in tension. And now so many of us think about the intention. Okay, I'm just going to get up and do my workout. I'm just going to get up a little bit earlier because that's the only way I can get my workout in. Well, actually, what if is necessary for you to actually see some change in your life is actually not to get up any earlier, but is actually about getting rid of maybe a 2-hour block or a 2-hour window or 2 hours worth of activities throughout your day that are not serving you, that you love, but is actually a waste of time and is actually holding you back. And because of that, that means you have to, the only way that you get your workout in, the only way you get your self-care time, and the only way that you get to have some rest time is to wake up earlier or to extend your day or to do more things. But in the definition of what rest actually means, that actually means that we're working, we're doing more, we're ceasing work and movement and doing the opposite of what rest actually is. We're moving more, we're working more, we're trying to get more in, we're trying to accomplish more things, we're trying to get more done, but yet we wonder why we actually don't get anywhere ahead. I hope this is resonating with you, because this concept of rest is something of truth. It's something of truth because it's how we were designed. We were designed to rest. We were designed to rest. The whole system, the mind, the body, the spirit, it can only be engaged, integrated together in a restful state. And when we are present in that true experience of resting, it's called restful awareness. I want you to realize this. Restful awareness, it's something real. And a lot of you may have never felt what restful awareness truly is. Restful awareness is the concept of when we become aware to how we feel when we stop working and we stop moving. You might have had this feeling before. For me, it came, first time I ever noticed it was probably 18 years ago, 18 years old. And I had pulled up to a beach and I had the intention of playing football on the beach and catching frisbees on the beach and swimming in the ocean, all these things. And I got out of the car and guess what I realized? That everything that I had intended to bring, the football, my goggles for the water, the frisbee, I had left at home. The whole box I had left at home. And so what was there left to do? Rest. And I went and I sat in this chair. It's one of those chairs that reclines, had my feet in the sand. And within 30 seconds, I was sleeping. And I was only out for about 5 minutes. But as I heard the rush of the ocean, rush of the water, the birds, something woke me up to being almost in like a half sleep, half daze state. And I was like, this is what it feels like to rest. And it was freeing. It was like for a moment I had escaped. And that restful awareness is something that I feel every single day when I step into my sauna. It is a state of quiet. It is a state of tranquility. It is a state where nobody gets to disrupt. And I get to be so present and creative with God. I get to be so connected to God. I get to be so still and silent with myself. I've said this on podcasts before, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And the only way we get to slowness is by getting to stillness, which is by getting to a resting state. And I have this restful awareness like tuned into my body now. I know when I'm needing rest. Number one, because data helped me do it. Sleep quality. I now know when my body's requiring rest. I know when it's actually requiring what's there. And I also know what rest is actually like, what modalities or what things get me the best restful state because of data. That is why a data-driven approach is so purposeful, because I've heard so many times people are like, I try resting. I try doing what you say. I try doing these things. But in actuality, I don't feel any more rested. I feel more tired. I don't feel any better. Well, it's because we're not actually getting the rest that you need. We're not actually resting. We're probably still moving and we're probably still doing some type of work. No rest is not your workout. Yes, it might make you feel good. Yes, it might be something that you need. Yes, it might be something important, but that's not your rest. No, your rest is not listening to music or a podcast while you drive your kids around to football and soccer. No, it's not getting into a bath at night and sending emails and text messages to catch up on work. By definition, rest is making sure that we are ceasing work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. And so I want to take the devil's advocate here, because I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting here going, okay, Justin, I love this concept of rest, but I'm an ambitious person. Are you telling me that I can't be ambitious? Are you telling me that I can't have ambition? Are you telling me that I can't shoot to do something great? And I wrote this down right on my screen as I was getting prepared to do this podcast. And I circled his name. His name is Erwin McManus. If you don't know who Erwin McManus is, you go take a look. He's a pastor out in California. I've quoted him several times, of Mosaic Church. He's a good friend. He's actually coming with Elise and I to Mexico with our couples collective group in September. And so he'll be with us for 4 days. I can't wait. Podcast's going to come out of there. It's just going to be incredible. But he's a brilliant, brilliant man. And what he talked about ambition was, he goes, we are called to be ambitious. When you have a calling on your life, when you have a mission on your life, you should be ambitious. If you're not ambitious, you're giving away the gift. But in the pursuit of ambition, the only way you can be ambitious is if you rest. The only way you can be great is if you rest. Ed Milet goes, you want to separate yourself from you and everybody else who offers a service, or you want to stand out? Just be excellent. Be excellent at what you do. Well, how do you become excellent? You give yourself time to rest. Because you're never going to reach your level of ambition. You're never going to stand out if you're average and mediocre. which is how a lot of you are acting and behaving because you're not able to change the trajectory. You don't have the 6th and 7th gear. You don't have the ability to get into high gear and really change the intensity because you're in this constant low mundane hum, and that's all you can ever achieve. That's all you can ever hit. That's all you can ever do because you don't have the energy. You don't have the energy stores. You don't have the ability to punch through and really go because you don't rest. It's the secret antidote. I always said in athletics, whenever coaches would come to me and say, are we overtrained? Are we overtrained? No, we're not overtrained. We're under-recovered. And I would say the same to you. You're not overtrained. Doing a Peloton ride every single day is not overtraining you. Being awake and working and pushing for 15, 16, 17 hours a day is not overtraining you. You're under-recovered. And so instead of looking for an excuse as to why to not work out or why not to do something that's going to benefit you, what if we looked at what have you actually been compromising by not resting? Because there's certain things we talk about at Own It. There's 5 values that just, I think, encompass what we're talking about here so well. Number 1 is ownership, empowering leaders to confidently own their health journey, ensuring lasting transformation. Commitment, unwavering dedication to our client success while also demanding the same from them in order to achieve excellence together. Connection, true transformation happens through personal relationship and accountability, not through technology. Trust, prioritizing clients by leading with honesty, transparency, and setting industry standards with truth over hype. And excellence, relentlessly pushing boundaries, setting new standards, and achieving unparalleled holistic health. Those 5 sit in the middle of a circle. That this is probably one of my most close-knit and rooted values is wholeness, providing the complete solution. And a big part of that to create wholeness is rest. You can't have rest if you are only working. You can't have rest if you're constantly moving. You can't have rest if you're only focused on the body. To have wholeness, it means mind, body, soul, all integrated. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, all integrated. And when everything is integrated, it is then that you can create restful awareness. Where do I need it? When can I get it? How do I attain it? So that ultimately you can step into a more powerful, more ambitious, more successful, stronger version of you. That is what I desire for every single person, to realize their potential, to step into what it is that you've been called to so that you can serve at a higher level. You can realize the levels of success that are not just wishes for you, but are actually waiting for you. But it requires you to do things differently, which is why we need to be able to lean into and learn what it means to rest. That was what differentiated us in the NHL with all of those teams that ultimately allowed those players to be and develop at a higher level, a faster level, that everyone was like, how is this happening? How are you so energized at this time of the year? How are you not sick? How are you not injured? It's not because we did any less. We played fewer games. We practiced less. We worked out less. We did anything like that. No, we were actually finding out how we could rest better. You're not overtrained. You're under-recovered. And it's time to figure out why. And data is what allows us to do that. As we went through this, I've really just been focused on helping to provide the most seamless and whole solutions for you guys. I don't want just little bits and pieces here. That's what this podcast exists. I'm about to do a 5-part series that's going to dive into the most important pieces of testing, like the data pieces that you really have to understand. We're going to do a whole episode on HRV. We're going to do a whole episode on cellular deficiencies. We're going to do a whole episode on VO2 max testing. We're going to do a whole episode on sleep quality. And then we're going to have a 5th episode that dives deep into what does it actually look like to find rest and what tools are best. We're going to go over red light. We're going to go over sauna. We're going to go over cold plunge. We're going to go over PEMF. We're going to go over hyperbarics. We're going to go over these things so that in this 5-part series, you can actually start to use it and understand in depth what we can help you do. But more importantly, so you can have the information so you can step on the journey yourself. And so I wanted to create a PDF that actually gave you some insight on this. So if you go to theownitshow.com, theownitshow.com, it's going to allow you to get an entire playbook and an actual ebook that takes you through all of this. So theownitshow.com is where you can find that. And I really encourage you to lean into that and dive in, because I want you guys to take advantage of this. I want you to take advantage of what it is that you're doing, because when you go over and you recharge, a day off is how you can ultimately ignite where it was that you were. I started off this podcast talking to you guys about how that Sunday I woke up and I just had this run that was just terrible. And yesterday was Monday and I had a scheduled workout and I said, you know what? I'm actually not going to work out this morning. I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to get into the sauna. I am going to go and get on the PEMF chair. I'm going to go through some stretching and I'm just going to lay, breathe, and meditate. Lo and behold, I woke up from that little meditation and there's a feeling of like angst, a little bit of like wanting to go do something. I was just like, nope, just back off. And today woke up, went off, did the actual training session. And not only did I come back running a 6:50 7-minute mile, I came back running a 6:30 mile feeling great. And so that's the other thing, that when you rest, you come back better than when you went in. Because it's only through rest that you're able to realize the strength, able to realize the benefits, able to realize the growth that comes out of the work that you're doing. It's like a bow and arrow. Do the work, pull back, rest, pause, and let yourself go. So allowing yourself to sit into this, cease work, cease movement in order to relax, refresh, and recover strength so you can step into that greater version of you. Success is different, so own your different. And we'll see you guys next week.